Hello, everyone. My name is Marius Tănescu. If you don't know me, for the last few years, I'm living in Chicago. I'm originally from Romania, but I'm very, very passionate about a new industry called blockchain technology. And because I was looking to learn a lot, I got in touch with different key players, with different people that they know a lot about blockchain, that they have experience, that they are the pioneers in the industry. And I was thinking, what if I'm going to start a podcast, if you want to call it, an interview to talk with people that they have knowledge, they have experience in blockchain, and they can share with us their ideas, their vision, their passion, their mission, if you want. Because I truly believe blockchain technology, together with AI, is going to be the future. And I don't know if that's the right way to say it. Maybe it's the present that is going to change the future, and that's why I really really like to talk about it. And as I said at the beginning, I'm very passionate, but this is my goal. My goal is to ask questions. My goal is to learn a lot from people that they really know what's going on in the industry. And if you are here for the beginning, if you never heard about blockchain, or if you want to learn more about it, probably this is the best place to be, because I'm a beginner. Even if I am like 5 years in the industry trying to learn as much as possible, I'm still at the beginning. I'm a beginner, and I like to learn a lot from people that they have more experience. And my goal is to talk with people, learn from them, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions, if you want, dumb questions. But those questions are going to be good for you and me to learn a lot and figure out what's going on with blockchain. It's my pleasure to have today with me a person that I met for more than a year right now. I really like him. I really respect him. He's a very cool guy, very nice person, and not only that, but he has a very nice experience in blockchain technology, and that's why I invited him. Thank you, Jake, for being here with us. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. I really loved the opportunity.
I would like to hear a little bit your story and how you started into being around blockchain. How did you discover blockchain?
Oh, yeah. So if anyone knows me now, like they know I'm hardcore blockchain. Love every aspect about it. It's actually become basically it's become my life to share this tech with everyone. But prior to 2018, like I absolutely hated it. I would look at Bitcoin and I would look at people trading Bitcoin, and I just thought it was this fake thing that everyone was being scammed into, and everyone was purchasing this thing, and it was just
There are still people that they believe the same thing.
yes. I think it's like just part of the process whenever you actually start to dive deeper. And I just I realized later on I didn't understand it, but I got my start in 2018. And at the time, I was a real estate investor. I was trading stocks and securities, options, and just kind of doing my own thing. I came from this traditional type mindset, and I had a friend that basically just forced me to set up a wallet, and he sent me some crypto, and I got involved in like a little bit of some mining projects here and there, but I did not believe in it at all. I didn't understand any of it, but because he was so persistent on, getting me involved, and he tried to get me to understand things, but I really wouldn't look into it.
How long ago was that? You said
That
2018.
was in 2018. Yep. And so I let like a whole year go by, still doing my own thing, and I still had that just kind of sitting on the shelf, not looking at it. And he called me in 2019, and he asked me like, "Hey, there are some really big players here in Vegas. How soon can you be here? Can you be here tonight?" And I mean, he was very energetic, very serious about this, so I entertained it, even though I knew it was probably something crypto based, and I still did not like it at the time. Uh, but yeah, I said, sure. I looked, I remember booking my tickets, within 30 minutes after that call, and barely made the last flight out for that night to get into
Wow.
Vegas. And so I landed in Vegas, and he was right. Started hearing about some of the names that were there. Some very big people. One guy that had started one of the largest IPOs, Zynga Games, MySpace founder. There was a Overstock.com interim CEO there. Just a lot of awesome people. Some developers for Farmville, Words with Friends, Mafia Wars, some of the big games that people were playing on mobile and Facebook. And I started interacting with some of these people. So I started looking at, like, maybe they know something that I don't know. I mean, these are much smarter people than me. They're much more successful than me. So if they're excited about this, I probably should take a deeper look. And the missing element that I had was, it was blockchain. There's this
Mhm.
whole underlying technology, this whole underlying infrastructure built that sustains all this. I started to understand Bitcoin. It's no longer this centralized server where, banks have control over all of these finances that are traveling through it. It's that server busted up in, thousands of different pieces, to where individuals actually own a piece of that server that verifies transactions globally. And
Mhm.
so I understood the concept of blockchain at the time. But even then, I was kind of struggling with Bitcoin, because I'm like, okay, well, what's the use in that? And what was being talked about here was actually, what was called Arcade at the time. It became Gala Games, if you've ever heard of
Mhm.
that
Yep,
project.
sure.
And he was, I sat down with one of the developers, and he really made me understand utility, which was really missing in the crypto space, because everyone else was just getting into a project, maybe building a network, and all they cared about was the value of that token, and that was it. And it was all speculative. But he started talking about how he would be ran out of boardrooms for, as a developer, wanting to produce something as a passion. He wanted to make the next best game, and the boardrooms would say, well, I don't know, it sounds interesting, but we don't know if that's tried and true, if that can make money. So go ahead and take last year's game and kind of cookie cutter stamp it out, put a different spin to it, and we're going to put it back out there because we know that makes money. And it made him sick, because he no longer had, he was no longer able to convey his passion of creating entertainment for consumers, which is how things should be, right? We're
Yes.
all tired of the same thing being spun up. You look at remakes of movies and everything else, and they're never the same as the original. So he talked about this other aspect of gaming on blockchain. He said you can own a piece of the server. You can actually earn rewards for building that infrastructure. And not only that, you can actually own pieces inside of the game. So he brought up, Fortnite was like one of the big crazes at the time. And he
Mhm.
said parents, or even just people that, like adults that play the game, are just wasting money into a black hole. They're buying the different skins for the characters and the weapons in the games, and all these other things as microtransactions, and it's just money that's gone, and it's all going to this central server. So if that game manufacturer wants to delete all that with one keystroke, they can, and it's all wiped out. So he said, if you put that on blockchain, that's in your wallet. You own it, and the people that keep the infrastructure alive, they own all of that infrastructure. So not one single authority can just wipe all that stuff out. It's actual a digital asset for that game item. And so he talked about, if someone gets bored with that game, they can actually sell that item to someone else that's wanting to start playing that game, and they could take their money from that and put it into the next game or continue playing. And so I understood this consumer base of, like, products and services flowing through, and that digital asset uh, being able to have like a marketable value to it, and all of that flows through the blockchain utilizing the currency that empowers that blockchain, which was Gala. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so I really started to understand. the infrastructure and the technology side of it, I went deep down a rabbit hole after that. I had purchased some nodes and I started supporting that project. I only got 4 nodes at the time. That was all I could afford, but did really well with that.
Very nice. Yes, you already introduced us few ideas about what blockchain is. You talk about the centralized versus decentralized. You talk about wallets. You talk about nodes. Can you explain a little bit more the idea of blockchain? How exactly you see the blockchain, and how this can be applied for a project, for a business? You're talking about the utility, which majority of the projects, as far as I know, they don't have too much utility. There are only few good projects that they really have utility. They have customers, and they produce real revenue.
Yeah, other than like some of the projects that I've gotten involved here, not no one's actually using the technology for how it's designed to be used. And I'll just simplify. Blockchain sounds like this huge buzzword, and it is amazing technology, but it's just the next iteration of the internet, if you really think about it on simple terms.
That's
So,
huge. That's huge. Like what you just said, I believe that's huge. Because
yeah,
I remember 95, 96, and even if you Google right now and say, okay, how they try to explain in 95, 96 the internet, nobody was able to give a full picture how internet is going to develop in the next year.
yeah,
And it was kind of like nobody understood, and they were trying, oh, the internet is going to do this, is going to do that, but they were not able to fully explain. And I believe that we are right now in 95, 96 of the blockchain, where we are trying to figure out how it's going to be, but it's kind of hard to explain. And that's why I want you to explain a little bit for us.
yeah. And I mean that you're right. The opportunity feels exactly the same as that. And it's funny looking back at that. Whenever you had businesses that said like I'm an internet business, nowadays you're just a business and you just use the
Nobody's
internet,
using
right?
that term.
So like right now you kind of hear like blockchain companies and stuff, but I believe like in the near future it's going to be so apparent that it's just you're a business. Of course you use blockchain. And that's for many reasons. That's for security. It's top notch security. It's ownership, it's fairness, it's traceability, transparency. And uh what I was talking about those iterations was if you go way back to just intranet before the whole world was connected, you had computers connected just at a local business, and that's what it's dubbed as Web One. It was the first iteration of the web, and that was read only. You could only just look at data and process data at a read only. And then the next iteration came out, the 2005s, 2010s, whenever we transitioned to Web 2, which was read and write.
Yeah.
So then you had, YouTubes and social medias where you could actually interact with and write to the internet at the same time while reading. And then now you have Web 3. Web 3 is read, write, and own. And remember, that's what I talked about how we could own nodes. We took those servers and you bust them up to where it's not one central authority that owns all of it. Every single person that's a node operator owns a portion of that network, and they're actually rewarded or incentivized to build that infrastructure. And because of that ownership, there's no longer, again, that central authority that has all the say so in what happens inside of it. It's so much more fair.
Mhm.
And all those other things that I just mentioned that come with it. The easiest way for me to explain it is, let's say we had a poker game going and we don't have any chips. So if you go to Vegas, they supply all of that. It's all in central control. They own the game. They could rig the game. You never really know. But all of that's controlled inside of their infrastructure. And they're also going to collect all of the revenue and the fees and everything else, like the buy-ins, all the different things that happen. But if we wanted to just start our own poker game and we don't have any chips, how would we do that? How would we make sure that we have a fair game? And the fair way is everyone participates. Everyone has a public ledger that is at the center of the game, and we check it after every single round. So the first round takes off and we play. And let's say you win the hand, and we all mark it down, we all verify, and then we move on to the next hand. So if you tried to cheat, all of the other players inside of the game are going to have a discrepancy against that, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's called consensus. That's what all of the nodes do, are exactly what we're doing in between these rounds. And if you've ever heard like what these rounds would be called blocks. That's why it's a blockchain. Every single block is looking at transactions, going out for consensus to all of the nodes, verifying that consensus, saying it's good, lets it go through, and moves on to the next block. So there's a lot of security inside of that, but there's also transparency. Like you can go back to the beginning of a blockchain and always look at any transaction hash if you want to see all of the different transactions that happen inside of that block.
Very
And
interesting.
yep, and now like we're already advancing into Web 4. Like we're one of the very few that I can think of that is actually putting AI with blockchain.
Wow, very interesting. Then the blockchain is something that is decentralized, the community owns, is transparent, transparency is verifiable. You can go back and see every single transactions, which that's huge for any business.
Yep, and it's 24/7 and it's global.
Now, how can you see this apply for future?
Really anything. Like if you can think of any type of system that is corrupt or it needs transparency, I mean, you can apply that to healthcare. You know, your own data. We should be able to hold these things. We shouldn't have to worry about this central authority over here that has, you know, your entire health history, and then this one over here, and then there's discrepancies between them. Like that's something you should hold. Or you could talk about food. You know, there's all kinds of things that we don't know where our food comes from. We don't know what's in our food. We don't know any of these things. Uh, One that I learned about that I wasn't aware of was the unethical mining practices that come with, you know, gold mining, lithium mining, all these other things, uh, utilizing, you know, child labor and all of the unethical and like bad environmental practices that take place during all these things. Uh, any type of traceability. Uh, you know, BlackRock getting into ETFs with Bitcoin now. One of the big problems with commodity trading is like if you think gold, for instance, it can be paper sold. Because people are buying paper gold, you don't really know if there's actually gold in existence that backs that. Sure, they have third party auditors that go to the warehouses and they sign off and say, yes, it's there. But you have to trust that third party that they're not being paid or that there's some type of corruption or even just human error there. And many have already talked about or speculated that gold, silver are all oversold. The price is suppressed down because there's more that's actually being sold than that is actually in existence. If everyone tried to go on a gold run and said, I want to take delivery on the gold that I own, they would run out before they got to the last person, kind of like musical chairs. But now that they have a Bitcoin ETF, a few people, I remember having this conversation that they were worried that the same thing would just happen. They would oversell Bitcoin, drive the price down, and it would be oversold. But it can't be, because whenever BlackRock has their quarterly statements and they say, you know, we've raised this much inside of our traded fund and it has to be backed by this much Bitcoin, you can take their wallet, go look at it, and verify that that Bitcoin is in existence in their possession. And it's huge. Like me or the bottom of the bottomest investor can go audit that. We no longer have to trust third parties. You can, like anyone in the world can go audit these types of things. So think about if you applied that to any industry. You know, anyone anywhere can go make sure that what is being said or what is being spent exactly where it's being said that it is.
Yeah, that's huge to be able to verify. You don't need to trust anymore. You just go and look at the data and it's there or is not.
Yep, exactly.
That's amazing. Talk with me a little bit about the decentralized uh, authority, or because I believe this is very important, the opportunity to create a community, that the community is going to control any project that you want to control, is not only one person or a group of people that they control. They have the authority, they have the power, they can do whatever they want to do, and they collect all the money. Like one of the example that I'm thinking is any platform that we use for free right now. Like imagine Facebook, for example, right? You use for free, you are happy that you can post pictures, you can comment, you can do whatever, see friends, put your videos, and it's for free. But at the end of the day, somebody else is controlling the platform. Somebody else is taking the data, is using your data, is using your money. Because when you spend that time into, let's say, one platform like that, you spend a lot of time, but you generate money, and they make a lot of money. They control everything, and the community has nothing. Can you talk a little bit about the centralized versus decentralized that blockchain is bringing to the table, and also the fact that the data is so important? And why I'm asking you about this, because I had a conversation with somebody, and I was trying to explain how important is the data, and he said, I don't care. And that's, for me, was like, what? Probably they don't understand that that's normal at this point, at this level of conversation. Talk with me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Anything that is free for you to use that feels like a lot of value means you're the product. Like we absolutely are the products on Facebook. They actually harvest our data and they monetize that. If and it's it's fine in a certain way if you are the one willingly giving up your privacy and data, but we also feel you should be rewarded for that because that's
See, I
yours.
never thought like that. I never thought before. I was happy to use Facebook and see my friends and share the ideas, whatever.
Yep. And it is. It's a cool platform. It's an amazing place to connect. But like you said, we're basically like cattle out in the field being milked of our data. And so if you took something like that, which Facebook makes north of like $180 billion a year just off of us,
Wow.
like if we are providing that value, then we should be a part of that because your private data is yours. It's a sovereign right that you own. It's like someone coming in and just taking something out of your home and monetizing it. So if you took that, which is on central servers, and again, that could be completely wiped out with a keystroke if you want to. All your pictures, all your data, all of that stuff can just you've given control of that away to someone. If you could decentralize that, which it's been done, uh, and power it by a node network that's community owned, where they control and own everything, then all of your data is actually protected and it's owned by you. If you decide you want to give it up or monetize it, then you have the right to do that. If you don't, if you want to stay secure, then you absolutely have that right as well. So that's one thing I always think about that a lot is okay, I am okay with being targeted for ads if it's things that I want. If there is a huge benefit to that. Like if I'm looking at say shoes for instance, and Nike wants to send me some ads or Under Armour wants to send me some ads and I'm looking at these shoes and it's beneficial to me. But again, that's my data that let them know that I was even looking at that. But Facebook's the one that harnesses all of that. I should be able to have the right to say, okay, yeah, go ahead and target me, but I'm going to earn from doing this. But not only that, the platform that we're on, because we as community members all own this, if they're going to target me with ads, they're going to utilize the uh, the reward mechanism that is empowering our community. So if all these companies want to take $180 billion a year and feed it into a central corporation to target ads, why don't you come over to this community over here, take that $180 billion a year and flow it through our network utilizing our token and reward all of us for doing that. It's shared ownership at that point. It's no longer a central authority just harnessing all of this.
That's huge. Um, Even when I heard this for the first time, I was using a lot ChatGPT. And when I heard that actually they are giving the platform for free at a beginner level, and you can interact a lot with the platform, and you can learn a lot. You can find out a lot of information. But when I heard that actually they own the data, they control the data, and obviously they make a lot of money, for me that was a big question mark. And I prefer a platform where the community is owning that data.
Yep. And that's AI is that next step, and it's so much scarier because if you think about just Google with search engine optimization, or you're talking about Facebook and collecting and harvesting all of this data, AI is almost like a collective consciousness. It's all of
Mhm.
our consciousness, all of our thoughts being fed into a machine that can actually process this at very high rates. It's so much scarier to think about that data being in control of one or a few companies.
Yeah,
So it something needs to throttle that. Something needs to be governed by governing that, and that would be blockchain because it's multi-tier owned, and everyone that comes into the platform is on a fair level playing field. That that control harness can actually throttle that to where it can be not only in a secured manner, but just a fair manner to where it's not actually exploiting a community because that's where the real value in, our eyes and our ears as a collective whole is what's valuable. If you can congregate a bunch of people digitally in one place, obviously that's where the value is because
yeah.
companies can target that. It's an easy place for them to uh, be able to share their product or their service with a whole lot of people, and especially if they're educated on that product or service. But why do we need to have this king reigning over us and him collecting everything? Why can't we own it all? Why can't we share in that revenue?
But the funny part is, like, before I hear about blockchain and what we can do with the blockchain, uh, I never asked that question. I didn't care. I was happy to use the platform. Whatever platform was, like, I was using it, and that's it. Right now, I'm using Rlink. It's a new platform which is on blockchain, is decentralized, is community owned, and the data is not somebody's that's holding the data, is the community. And also you can share the data, or you can say, no, I don't want to share the data and monetize it. That's why I'm using this platform called Rlink, which is kind of like any video conferencing called Zoom or Google Meet or anything else. I think you like it. I don't know if you like it or not, but we can is doing the job. In my opinion, is much better than other platforms. But the funny part is that here I can talk with you freely. I know that nobody's listening, and nobody's gonna take our data and sell it to somebody, maybe in China or somewhere else. And when I know other people that they sign NDAs before they go into a Zoom, make sure that, okay, nobody's gonna share the ideas. They have a big idea, and let's sign an NDA. Yeah, but you sign with me an NDA. But what about the platform that you are doing the meeting? They are listening to you. They have their AIs. They collect all the data, and they will use your idea before you are thinking.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you have a fly on the wall in every one of those meetings. Yeah, I love this platform here. Rlink it's amazing. Not only that, there are some huge properties to it that are way above and beyond that Zoom has. I don't know. Did you recently see that Zoom actually just got caught selling a lot of data? Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Anyway, a question for you. You saw so many projects in blockchain, and I agree with people that they say not every project is a winner, and unfortunately, many of them are not winners and just collect some money. And a lot of people, they lost a lot of money in blockchain, in crypto space, so on and so forth. How would you recommend somebody? What should you tell somebody to be careful when you take a look of a project? What are the principles that you are following in order for you to say, okay, yes, this is a project that is good to be part of. This is a project that I don't want to have anything to do with. Do you
Yeah,
have some?
yeah. So usually, like whenever you hear that story on a lot, you usually hear about meme coins or maybe even just like a small network. So meme coins are mostly built as a just a token on a different blockchain, and all they care about, like it's literally just memes, you know. So whenever people buy into it, they pump a token up and then they rug pull it out from everyone else, off of momentum craze. And again, that's just speculative. Or if you go into maybe another project that they actually built a little bit of an infrastructure, maybe they actually do have a blockchain, but it's the same thing. If there's no actual real world products or services or any type of utility flowing through that network, it's not being used. Like, what's the point in interconnecting a bunch of computers, generating a bunch of rewards from that, but then there's no use for them? It's the
Mhm.
same thing. If anything is going in and they pump a token, it's going to be a flash in the pan. It's going to crash right back down because there's nothing to actually sustain it in the real world. So one of the biggest things I always look at is governance. If there's not a governance structure that shows the node network, the people that are participating in that network, as true ownership over that network, it's a red flag. Uh, if there isn't some real technology base to it, like so, if it doesn't have its own like layer one blockchain, if they're building on something else, like say they're building on Ethereum, uh, it's not necessarily a red flag, but I would like to see a project that's actually building its own thing to become more efficient in the technology. Because if they're just utilizing a another network, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not like true ownership over whatever it is that they're building. Now it is decentralized by the Ethereum network or the Binance Smart Chain or something else. But again, there are some flaws with those chains that we can get into at a later date. Um, if there's no true utility for it. So if we're talking about products and services, if there's no tangible real world assets that can maybe be tokenized on that chain to be purchased, like you mentioned, this platform, this is an actual product or service that is flowing through the network. You can actually purchase an NFT for your membership here. Rally, the token that's powered uh, on that blockchain, actually flows through to pay for that membership or service. So if I don't have any of those things right there, I'm probably not going to get involved in that project. And then also, just is it making an impact? There could be some cool little fun things. And again, I got involved in gaming.
Mhm.
Is there some problems and corruption side there? Absolutely. But it's not as impactful. Like where I'm transitioning into now is finding real problems and this being real solution to help people, because we've progressed through the web 2 world so much that the select few tech, like big tech companies, have figured out how to harvest us as their products on these. So uh, if you can actually find a project that's working towards pulling that power back to the people and giving that opportunity to actually take ownership over whatever it is, because obviously that product or service has value to the world, but the means of how it's being utilized and really crippling the world, if we can tackle that problem, that's a project I want to be a part of as well.
Yeah. In future, how long do you see the world will embrace blockchain technology, and it's going to become like normal and obsolete? And let's put it this way, maybe the way you said, it would be a day when you are not going to say this is a blockchain project. You are just going to say this is my business, that of course is using the blockchain technology.
Yeah. I would say in the next probably 3 to 5 years, it's going to become a norm. It already has started to become a norm. Like a lot of people are waking up to and starting to hear about blockchain, but at this rapid rate that that it's progressing and people are starting to get involved. And now there's more and more projects. Like, I look at Connect a lot as something that simplifies it for the average user, because that's what's going to make mass adoption, right? Is whenever it becomes easy for a user to be able to participate in it. And those things are becoming more and more and more refined. I look at it like you mentioned back in the Web 1, or the early internet days, pre 95. You had to be a developer or software coder to be able to connect to the internet.
Yep.
There was some things out there called like Netscape, but they were very, very, very confusing. And then America Online, the AOL disk came out, right?
Yep.
The average user could pop that into their computer. It was a nice user interface, and people started interacting with the internet, started sharing with their friends of like, hey, look how cool this is. And then it started getting mass adoption, and it became more and more normal to interact on the internet. And that's what I feel like we're going into now, is this simple user interface where someone can actually plug into blockchain and start participating right away, and also become educated on it, because it's only going to get easier and easier. We no longer have to know, how does a modem work, and having to plug all this stuff in and figure out exactly what it is that makes it beneficial. Like, I have no idea how my Wi-Fi router works, but I know that I can connect to the internet. So at some point, probably in the near future, I really think like 3 to 5 years, it's going to become so simple that people don't even have to understand what blockchain technology is. They just have to see the value that it serves to them.
But that means they will need a wallet, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
I remember the day when a friend of mine helped me to open a digital wallet, and he sent me some digital money. I was like, man, this is cool. This is very interesting. And how many people do you think they have a wallet right now?
Um, I don't know. I'm sure we could find some pretty good statistics on that, but I still think it's a lower number than it probably should be.
Like, could be 2, 3, 4, 5% of the population, or
Yeah,
more or less,
maybe somewhere around there, like 10% of the population, or
that
at
they
least
have a
here,
wallet.
like here in the U.S. at least. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Any project that you work on or you like more than others, and you can say, pay attention to this project?
Yeah, so I mentioned Connect for that reason of making it simple and educating people, and that's powered by the Wind blockchain
Mm-hmm.
through a product called Blockbot. That's the AI portion plus the blockchain portion that I mentioned. For that reason, because you're incentivized not only to simply plug into the network and start earning rewards, but you're incentivized to learn about it. You're incentivized to share it, because this technology is going to blow up no matter what. But with that extra fuel on the fire to actually incentivize someone to actually go out and share and help others connect into it and help get the world population and the masses up to speed, it's such a powerful thing. I feel like that's kind of like a base layer to bring everyone into a community to start participating in that. It's such a powerful blockchain that rewards you to be doing actions that I think truly change the world.
This looks like a different protocol than Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Yep, yep. Because Bitcoin was proof of work, Ethereum started as proof of work. Very complicated to get into. Again, that's kind of like the coder days type thing. Like, to operate a Bitcoin node, you have to make sure that you have the right power source. So many people, like, you have some 240-volt circuits, but they usually run like your oven or your washer. So you'd have to get a whole nother panel RAM. You'd have to go buy a very expensive machine, like $15,000-$20,000 for some of those machines to be competitive now. Uh, and they're noisy. And then again, now you have to get into the coding side, making sure that all this is directed and ported to the correct wallets. I've been there. It is complicated. But getting outside of proof of work, it's a proof of action algorithm. So it's very simple to plug into. Uh, you can set up a node on it within 10 minutes, like setting up a wallet, making sure that
Can you explain what's a node and what's the functional, what's the reason of a node in blockchain?
Yeah. So
What's a
remember my
node?
poker analogy earlier, right?
Yeah.
So you were actually doing the one to actually verify that public ledger to make sure each round or each hand you're looking at all the transactions that happened and who won that hand. So you were technically like a node in that scenario.
Hmm.
So a node is just software being ran on some hardware, and it's keeping all of this public ledger alive. It's verifying all the transactions that are happening on that network, and it's rewarding you to be able to plug into that network. So the more and more nodes that are in existence out there, the more and more secure that network is. If you think of like how what I always talk about, that central server that Amazon or Facebook or Netflix owns, if you can bust that up into a bunch of pieces to where each person can own a piece of that, that's your node that's actually interacting with the network.
Is a node doing the same work that a miner for Bitcoin is doing?
No, no, these
No.
are these are way more efficient. Like you could run this on a laptop if you want. I run most of mine on a VPS, which is renting basically renting like a little server space and connecting it up. So it doesn't consume much power. Like you're not going to have $1,000 a month electricity bill or anything like Bitcoin mining. It's very low computational power, and it's actually tracking real world actions. So if I do something that is in action in the real world, it actually tracks that, puts it on chain, and then I earn a reward for that action.
That's fantastic. Like if you think like to have something like an index that it's recording all of your actions, all of your clicks, likes, whatever you do on that project, whatever action you take, and it's going to reward you for that. I think that's phenomenal.
Yep.
Like some people, they don't even grasp the idea, or they don't even believe that something like this is possible, just to be able to get rewarded for your actions, for good intentions, or for good actions that you take to help the humanity, to help that project in particular.
Yeah. And I mean, it's semi relatable, like in the even in the Web 2 world. Like, again, these are on central servers. These things can be wiped out, but I can go to Starbucks and I can buy a drink and actually get a star. And whenever I
Mhm.
accumulate enough stars, I can get a free drink, right? Or I can go on fly American Airlines and get some Sky Miles that I can utilize for future trips. But again, those are on a Web 2 server. If there was some type of malfunction, or if they decided we no longer want to support this, all of those accumulated miles you have could just be wiped away.
Yep.
Now, in Web 3, going into Web 4, you actually own those. So, like the Starbucks stars, like it would actually be an asset in your wallet that if you wanted to utilize that for whatever product or service that is, you could do that. Or if you want to sell those to someone else that's wanting to utilize that product or service, you could absolutely do that as well. It's absolutely yours to own in your wallet.
uh, I want to have a last question for you. Imagine that of course there are people out there listening to this conversation for the first time, and probably is like a lot of confusion. They don't understand probably anything about blockchain at this point. Because I remember the first few days, first few weeks, even first few months, I was like totally confused, totally confused. What would you say to somebody that feels like, okay, I don't understand anything, but looks cool, looks interesting? It's the new technology, it's the new internet. It's something that is going to impact the world more than internet did it. Um, because at least from this conversation, I want people to understand this idea. It's a new technology that is going to impact the world. With me or without me, this technology is going to go and impact the world. How? What am I going to do? What do you suggest me to do in order for me to be part of this or start learning? What's your suggestion?
Yeah, I would say just dive right in because I haven't always known the knowledge that I have. Thankfully, I had that friend that basically forced me into it. And I'm very, very, very thankful that he called me that day and opened my eyes, because him just helping set up a wallet. I earned my first transaction from him just so I could kind of start to understand some of these things. And again, I just leaped head first in. I purchased some nodes and started supporting the network, even though I didn't understand that. And luckily now, especially with Connect, there's a blockchain academy, there's learn to earn. You can actually be rewarded to learn outside of all of the other benefits that are involved in it, and just start participating. I mean, I always look at, it's kind of a term I've coined, but I always think of like the blind spot vision,
Mm-hmm.
where if you're not moving, or if you're moving at a flat rate, think about in your car. If there's someone in your blind spot right here, and you're either sitting still or moving at the same speed, you can't really see them. The only way to know that someone's in your blind spot is to accelerate faster so that you can see them. And that's always kind of been my philosophy on it, is just dive into it, start participating in it, and learn as you go.
Yeah. And if they don't have a friend to force them, they should call us, right? We can force
Absolutely.
them to open we can help them to open a wallet, to learn a little bit about blockchain technology. Just call us. If you don't have a friend, call us, and we are going to help you to start taking your first few steps into blockchain technology.
Yeah, and that's become my passion, is just going out and waking up the world and saying, "Hey, there's a better place, there's a better way to do this. Unplug from the Web 2 world and plug into this Web 4 world." I'm very passionate, and I will sit down and talk with anyone about this, because the more and more people that join this community, because remember, we all own this, the more successful it all becomes. That's what's called the network effect.
Yeah.
If you think about cell phone towers, if we started putting up cell phone towers, and again, that's almost like a node. Uh, but if you and I are the only ones with a cell phone, it's cool, we could talk to each other, but it doesn't serve any value to the world, right?
Yeah.
But if we slowly start bringing more people into this cell phone community, and more people start having them, look at how cell phones have changed the world. They're very,
Yeah.
very, very beneficial. And at the time, whenever that was first happening, it was just voice. People were talking over voice, or maybe even pager prior to that. Look at what it's become. So even with what we're building now, we don't even know the options that are coming, or what could be built upon that layer. Now I can actually take the cell phone network and I can video conference with someone, or I can chat on social media. I can do all kinds of things because people adopted something and built that community and that network up. And that's exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah. I became passionate too. I'm very passionate about this. Even if I don't fully grasp, I don't have the entire picture, and I can recognize that. I have no issue with that. But I see a future, a big future here, and I'm very passionate about the blockchain technology. Thank you so much, Jake, for sharing with us the idea. Do you know what? I still have another question. What if somebody will say, "Yes, I like what you are talking about, but what's in it for me here?"
Yeah, I mean, my motivations have completely changed. Whenever I first got in it, I was just talking about, or got involved because I could actually earn or mine a digital reward. That was kind of the self interest side of it first. And like I said, that was amazing. Like it's led to insane like amounts of trips and people that I've met. I've been able to have cool opportunities, pay off my parents' house and all kinds of cool things with a project that I've been involved in. Now, I'm not saying that this could lead exactly to that same trajectory. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball for that. But outside of that, like, I mean, I've met my tribe. This is an amazing community. These are some of my best friends now, and being able to be a part of changing the world, like that's such a passion for me now, that's what drives me. So just whatever your actual motivator is from what I just spoke to you, but there's so many opportunities here to be a part of something so amazing and so cool, to revolutionize.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate our talk here. I learned a lot from you, and I'm looking forward to have more conversation with you.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, I look forward to being on again.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you so much for everyone that you're watching us till the end. And I hope you got some value. And I hope you are gonna love this new industry called blockchain technology, and you start learning as much as possible, because I truly believe it's something huge that I'm passionate about. Jake is passionate about, and there are so many other people that they are passionate about this. And you don't want to miss the train. I'm telling you, you want to learn about this. If you are curious, if you want to learn more, you can contact us and we can help you to start your first few steps into the blockchain technology. We can help you to open a wallet. We can show you how to maneuver the coins, send some crypto left and right, and it's going to be a blessing. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, great evening, wherever you are. See you next time when we're going to talk more about blockchain. Have a good night, everyone.